Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Sprout Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Sprout Raven, 33-year veteran of comic science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. It's Tuesday. Normally we do Monday manga. Yesterday was a little bit crazy. I had a few extra errands later in the day, and I just didn't have time to do a live show yesterday. I apologize. So we're doing it now, Tuesday afternoon. And we're sort of finishing up our reviews on the series Kaiju number 8 with volumes 12 through 14 in this episode. That's not the completion of the series. I thought that it was. Apparently, there's one or two more volumes left to go, and they won't be back out until almost summertime this year. So we'll revisit them, but we'll get you all caught up to what's been released so far today. Hope you're having a good day today. I think I just saw the little midnight monster. I did. Come on. You want to get up here. Come on. Come on. There he is. There's my little kaiju. All right. There's nobody there yet. Oh, okay. Maybe a little while that we sit and watch, and then you can say hi. Anyway, folks, hopefully you guys are seeing me fine. And let's go ahead and get started with the review. Kaiju number 8, volumes 12 to 13, $11.99 each, from publisher Shonen Jump Viz Media. Reader Naoya Matsumoto, U.S. translation by David Evelyn, art touch-up and lettering by Brandon Bovia, design by Jimmy Pressler, editor Carla Clark. Genre, Kaiju Super Battle Science Fiction. These issues were released on February 4th, June 3rd, and September 2nd, 2025, respectively, for each volume. And now my cat's got my nose running, trying not to sneeze. Typical. What it's about. The Eastern Division of the Japanese Anti-Kaiju Defense Force has been attacked by identified class kaiju. That means kaiju that are specially identified to counter each of their individual abilities and power sets. Narumi and Kakuro have taken care of their targets, but Hoshina is still facing off against number 12. Project that Kaiju number 10 served as the prototype for. Even worse, his Weapon 10 Kaiju suit won't output more than 83% of its unleashed combat power, making this battle even more of a struggle for Hoshina. Why is the Weapon 10 personality that's in the suit with him limiting themselves and putting Hoshina in mortal peril? Is the former Kaiju number 10 sabotaging and sacrificing itself for the Kaiju cause at Hoshina's expense, or is there something up number 10's sleeve? Meanwhile, Captain Mina Ashiro, Kafka's childhood friend whom Kafka adores, has come a long way since her early days. A flashback shows that there were times where Ashiro was filled with doubt of her capabilities. It was Kafka's promise and her anger at him for being unable to keep it that pushed her to the level of ability that she now possesses, as she's basically the head soldier in charge of the whole group. We already knew she was a badass marksman and combatant, but this volume raises her stakes and her game quite a bit. Although we could have probably done without the Akira homage of her riding her tiger, her giant tiger compared to Tetsuo on the motorcycle. It's like this weird homage to both Tetsuo on the motorcycle sliding and He-Man and Battle Cat. It's just like this weird image. But anyway, I think we've seen enough of that pose homage in anime, manga, and even Western media. But whatever. Anyway, Ashiro faces off against Kaiju number 14, and although there are parts of her story that show you how stressful it is to have all the responsibility weighing upon you. That's the exact motivation she needs to protect who she cares about. And with just the press of her trigger button, trigger finger rather, she demonstrates the level of power she can unleash on any kaiju that wishes to destroy Tokyo. It's just a shame that there's no time to celebrate these victories. Oshina and Ashiro certainly deserve it, but now Kaiju number 9, the head kaiju, appears, and they are worn down to the bear, and he's got a wild amount of power, and kaiju are waiting to begin his next strike. Um, they're all massive, frightening, and truly overwhelming, and they stand no chance of surviving. But is that number 9's plan? Kafka must now take combat stage and protect his cohorts, and Mina finds herself right where Kaiju number 9 wants her, and catches her in his trap. Now the time has come to rescue um, Mina from becoming part of the enemy, and that time is ticking down with Kafka wondering how he's going to save her. And it's not going to be easy because Kafka can't just go fight number 9 and save his childhood friend. Nope, that's too easy. Too much is happening around him to simply ignore, whether it's the innocent bystanders, his fellow soldiers in arms, and the country itself, all of which are in dire straits over Kaiju number 9's attacks with his army of next wave of his army, I should say. More monsters keep on appearing, and Kafka fears that if he just rushes over to save Mina, more innocent people are going to be lost. Yet only he can save the day, and there's far too much saving to do. Sorry, my cat wants to climb up on my chest while I'm trying to read. At this point, Kafka fears that all hope is lost, as he can't be rescuing everyone in a split second. Self-doubt almost paralyzes him, and he can't make a decision of what to do. And now, finally, the rest of the team shows up and takes on the army of Kaiju number 9's released and unleashed upon everyone. Ichikawa is first on the scene as he takes on many of the Dai Kaiju. That's a smaller level fighting kaiju. Furuhashi also demonstrates his skills, followed by Hariuchi and Aoi. And this gives Kafka a moment to breathe and center himself and realize that he doesn't have to do it all by himself. But he still has to do what only he can do. And as Kafka shakes off the self-doubt, Mina then is dealing with her own fair share of doubt as she struggles to fight off Kaiju number 9's absorption of her as her personality and her knowledge and her abilities, the way Kaiju number 9 absorbed the general, Kikuro's father, earlier in this story. Mina fears that she's the only one who can stop these monsters as she goes back and forth between her current and her childhood self and her psyche. Mina sees just how much of a threat Kaiju number 9 is. Hundreds of years of monsters, humans, and other beings are already caught within its web of psyche that she's trying to avoid being absorbed into. And a sight that freaks me out to the point of shooting everything that moves in to be smelly. In other words, she's been already physically absorbed. She's trying not to lose herself, and she sees all the other things that's already been absorbed to make that kaiju. At that point, it takes over her to the point where she gives up all hope. That is until a certain somebody appears. Now, who that is, I'm not going to tell you. But ultimately, Kafka rescues Mina, and now the battle begins in earnest with our lead pro and antagonist, Kafka, and Kaiju number 9. But while Kafka has a host of improved Defense Force-style combat techniques tailored to fight this enemy, Kaiju number 9 is able to access the absorbed Isao Shinomiya, that's Kuro's father, and his wealth of martial arts knowledge. Will his refined battle techniques stand a chance? He will, because now he's teamed up with Mina. And it's the fulfillment of their promise one that makes the duo an even match in power than number 9, but can they outwit the Master Kaiju and finally bring an end to his reign of terror? I was thinking that this volume 14 was the conclusion, but we do have 2 more volumes to be released. That's kind of a disappointment to me, I guess. While these 3 volumes would have been a good point to stop and just finish the story, uh, they kind of suffer from over expanding the fight scenes. I get why the creator did it this way. It's just that there's a whole lot of redundancies in both the battles depicted and thematic structure, as every major human character, Hoshina, Kafka, and Mina, is basically left to face crippling self doubt. It gets a bit tiresome when you're reading it back to back to back, all in one sitting the way I did. Maybe it wouldn't be so pronounced if I'd read them with months in between the volumes. I probably still would have noticed, but it might not be quite as noticeable. Um, the 3 volumes went by quickly, and they were shorter in page count, with large amount of what amount to be too similar of story pace for the fighting. Keep down that. I probably could have edited out a good 90 pages combined of battle sequences between the 3 volumes without hurting the plot or the characters. And again, I get why this was done the way it was done. And by this time in the production, the manga was well picked up and being adapted for screen as an anime. So what drags, in my opinion, here in the print may simply serve as blueprint for a fast-paced battle sequence in the anime. In anime, you don't have time to linger and examine. You're constantly in reactive mode as a viewer. In manga, the reader can make a conscious choice to pause or even stop, put the story down, and come back to it. That changes how a story can be mentally processed. Yes, theoretically, I can pause or stop a TV show and come back as well, but most of the time, you're not doing that when you're watching. You're going to just react and follow through to the end. So for me, these 3 volumes were a bit of a mixed bag. Lots of good stuff, but executed in a bit of an odd pacing. And not just in these volumes, as I had talked about this sort of extra long focus on battle sequences in previous volumes. But perhaps doing 3 volumes this week compared to 2, because it's so much battle sequence and you don't quite get the payoff I was expecting, which is my fault because I thought we were at the end of the series. Hopefully, it'll be concluded next few volumes here. Well, I mean, it's going to be, but I don't know. It's to me, it should be over and completed with already. I guess is what I'm saying. So we'll wait and see how it ends up, but it just falls a little flat for me this week. I'm still going to give the books an overall 3.5 out of 5, but I think I've been giving the books 3.5 to 4, maybe. I don't know, but it just it's wearing thin on me. Is basically what I'm saying, and we'll see how it concludes. But let's take a look. Um, at some of the artwork here. And this is Hoshino having a battle scene with sword fight against his counter. And the one thing I refuse to lose at is a sword fight. That's my thing. I'm not going to lose that. And he's getting his butt kicked basically all the way through. And finally, part of the reason he's losing is because he's, like I say, he's only working at 83% capacity of his power set. Finally, the kaiju number 10 that's linked into him in his suit finally gets it across to him that it's don't take this fight combat so seriously. Don't take this the pressure of it and stuff so seriously. Have fun with it. Remember your training when you first had this. This was fun. This was fun. Have fun fighting this little, fun fighting the monsters. And once Hoshimi remembers that this is supposed to be fun, he and the kaiju number 10 mentally sync up. And that's when they come to full power and are able to beat their enemy. It was just like they just weren't simpatico until they realized, hey, this is supposed to be fun. And that kind of devil may care, um, not so much a lack of taking yourself seriously, but making, you got to be able to just, it's like anything else. You have to learn how to take yourself not too seriously and have fun with whatever you do in life if you're going to be successful in it. So that's basically the theme of that particular story part. Um, Once he realizes that um, it's fine, and then this is when Mina is going up against Kaiju Divine. In her armor. And there's Kaiju number 8, Kafka, ready to fight, try to protect. And the artwork is, pretty solid. It's not my favorite artwork ever, but it's above average for manga these days. Here is the second volume. A little bit too much computer AI generated stuff in here. You know, that's a computer generated background, cloud sky image type stuff. Which that kind of reminds me. Um, Grant Laker and a few other people have been talking about. Uh, There's no AI used in my book, and they want to put stamps on everything to try and say, we're not using AI. AI is used in 95% of the comics to some level of degree in design these days, whether it's if you're using computer programs for any concept, you're drawing on a tablet, you're doing your lettering, you're coloring, you're using any kind of computer programming whatsoever in producing your booking, your comic book, you're using a form of AI. Okay? So stop deluding yourself and saying no AI was used, because it was. What you're trying to say is we didn't abuse AI to go from nothing to full product without the traditional process and thinking process that humans do. And I get that, but you're presenting a false narrative. So figure out a different way to say that, folks. That's all I got to say about that, because that's sort of been a new thing that's going on around the comic book scene right now. No AI used, no AI used. You're using AI on some level. Anyway, more fights between the not the lesser, but the lesser known members of the fighting team are fighting these Daiku Kaijin. So that Captain knows what to do. Here's Mina's tiger. Of course, at this point, Mina's already been absorbed by Kaiju number 9, and it's trying to rescue Mina itself. It really can't do it. Tears it all apart, but the tiger starts regrowing limbs and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool concept there. and that's Mina trapped inside the kaiju while he's trying to absorb her into it. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff overall. Again, 3.5 out of 5. Okay, that's what we got for you for this episode. With the series taking at least 2 more volumes, I've decided to move on. I'm not going to necessarily do the B-side spinoff until next summer when the series concludes, unless someone tells me otherwise. I'm going to take a time off from this, and next week for Kaiju Monday, or Kaiju Monday, for Monday Manga, I should say. I'll just give some last-minute holiday recommendations for standalone manga and anime, and then we'll do our next series in January. So we'll see you next week for that. Now, tonight is our regular crowdfunding and industry talk episode at 8 p.m. Eastern Live. And our featured guest tonight will be Dr. Ebony Toussaint. She's the co-host of the Aurora Comics podcast and creator-writer of Crash Cart from Hellcat Comics on Webtoons. She's an RN as well. And we're going to talk about her webcomic, and we're going to talk about the differences between cultural diversity and just dealing with being a different type of culture as a fan. How do we embrace comics, or do we confront it, and in what capacities do we do that? And we're going to talk about making educational comics like Crash Cart and other types of comics that she does, and books that she does. So we'll be talking about that with her tonight with my guest, not my guest, but my co-host, Chris Hall. And that will be at 8 p.m. tonight. And then Thursday, we will have our regular Thursday night reviews, and then Friday, Chris and I will be doing our review of James Gunn's Superman for the week. So that's what's going on this week. And so we'll see you guys later tonight. If you're interested in that type of topic this night. And otherwise, we wish you a good day, and we'll see you next time on the show. If you want to reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Lewis Bright Raven, at Twitter X on Lewis Bright Raven 2. You can see more of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth with Raven, Lewis Bright Raven exclusively on YouTube. For email, it's quothravenlbr72@gmail.com is the main address you reach out to me at. If I don't get back to you, try lewisbrightraven@gmail.com. We'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.